Hey everybody, this is InsaneSparty with my broadcasting debut. I have no confidence in how this is going to go, but this is going to be the America's F2 series on Thursday. And we got a special treat. We got one-shot qualifying, followed by a 25% race in Canada, and a 50% race in France. So here we go, one-shot qualifying in full wets. It looks like that'll be great for invalidation for everybody. Let me get my map set up. Unfortunately, we're not here on the Race Spec Twitch, and there goes Harmesis into the barriers. Hopefully, in the next time we do this, we'll be on the Race Spec Twitch from there. But until then, you're stuck with my personal feed here. It's gonna be very treacherous going around. Gilles, Villeneuve. As I mentioned, this will be a 25% race right after this. A brief pause. The lineup for the top 10 will then be inverted for the second race. And it's a little bit different because we can only see one person at a time for one-shot quali, kind of seeing where everybody is. Looks like Verts is getting climbing up the ladder here. And here we go past the wall of champions. Blackman looks good through there. Here it is, Little Mick. And Blackman sets the pole with a 130.7. Vert's right behind, 130.8. And a pretty big spread here. Obviously, wet conditions is going to play into that a lot. And that was the quickest qualifying you will see. So here will be our grid for the day. Blackman followed by Verts, Drag King, Viridis, Little Mick, Captain Schmeg, Rocket, Mr. Highside, Tom, Squish, Jerk, followed by Robert Elder, Elder 54, Sub, Nico, Sargent, Flavius, Style, Harmesis, Phil, and Dorsey Dave had some issues, but that's all right. And while we have a brief couple moments, the last time we ran F2 in the Americas series, I believe, was 4 seasons ago. So it's been a hot minute since we've had it. Glad to have it back. Sub was able to organize a lot of racers, as you can see here. We, I believe, have 20. So something that we weren't necessarily expecting, but thrilled that we actually got basically a full grid here for the F2 series. And somebody hit the button already, so hopefully nobody was strategizing. Looks like a dry race. I do not have a weather report, so we're going to go fly by the seat of our pants here tonight. Also, unsure if the volume is actually working on this. Yeah, seems like it is. We should have formation lap. Nope, perhaps not. Looks like Sargent has left the session. Hopefully he's able to get back in here. Verts is leading the way, Black Man right behind. Viridis coming through the kink chicane. Everybody heads down towards the hairpin. It looks like Style had some issues back in the kink turns. There's Sergeant's ghosted car. As we come back down towards start-finish line, the Wall of Champions. Bert's leading the way, followed by Blockman. Viridis, Drag, Mr. Highside. This will be some good little battles. We'll see that here in the F2 series. No ERS, but you'll have the DRS as well as the good drag system. So cars that are close together, there's actually a lot more passing opportunities than you'd see typically in the F1 series. Let's follow Little Meg here for half a lap. Chasing Captain Schmeg and Mr. Highside. We have some issues back in the back. Professor Phil is around. Looks to still have his wings and end plates. Hopefully they'll be able to recover. Swish got a little bit sideways coming out of the kink. Style runs very deep into the hairpin turn here. Kind of pushes the Pharmacist out of the way. Pharmacist should have some good drag that he's able to take down this straight. Make it a little tight here. And Style is around. And that's the danger going too wide between that last final chicane. Two cars don't really fit there very well. And if you hit that inside curb, you will liable to spin, hopefully not end up in the wall. Dorsey Dave looks to have a good run here. As the Insane absolutely plows into Jerk as well as Elder. So I'm sure, even though we haven't had any incident, there goes the Harm Assist around. Even though we haven't had any incidents in Americans Sunday or either Tuesday, Tier 1 or 2 series, perhaps we're going to have some reports here from this race. Seth had a nice little overtake of Jerk right there. Both have the DRS open. Nice little battle between, hang on. A little tight there through the first two corners. Fun fact, also known as the Senna S's, even though that's commonly at the Brazil course. Less noticeable now that they have changed the exit of pit road from the aerial view. It does no longer look like an S like it used to, but that's what they are called. We do see some of our competitors have some penalties here. It's a couple 4 2-second penalties. Ooh, right at the top as well. Let's go take a look at Blockman and see how he's doing, chasing down Verts, coming past the Wall of Champions. So for the first race here, it will just be 10 laps, no mandatory pit stop. The 50% race, that'll be at France. Will, however, have a mandatory pit stop and tire change. Tom's kind of driving around here in no man's land at the moment. Nico's almost within DRL. We have Captain Schmeg. Looks to have had an issue. Tom gets past him. And this will make for a little bit of a disadvantage for Tom coming through the final hairpin into that DRS zone that is just on the opposite side with that long run down to the wall champion chicane. And it looks like Schmeg does not have the speed to pull off this maneuver. Squish is right on the tail of Elder, as well he was also on the tail of Sublime, as they battle through turns 1 and 2. This corner coming up was always my least favorite. Very easy to cut, as you see there, possibly. And then your run on the exit sometimes gets very close to that wall. As a street course, Canada is fun to drive. Does have a lot of different weather that we'll see, as well as we saw in qualifying with that full wet condition. This should be a good little battle coming down to that final stretch with the DRS zone. Don't run too wide here. Set up good for... Should probably work. Actually, Squish might even get Sublime here. Not quite. I'm really surprised. I thought he was going to be... But sets up perfectly for that second DRS zone right at the start-finish line. Good little maneuvering here. Leaving space to your competitors, always appreciated by those around you. Vert's still, oh, you see Blackman get a little loose. Vert's still leading the race. So far has led every lap. We do have quite a bit of penalties here though. 4 seconds for the 2 of the top 4 guys. But there is quite the gap down to 5th place, so in theory that will not hurt them for the final standings for race 1 here. Schmeg and Tom side by side. Let's take a look here. Who's going to give, if anybody? Tom ducks in back. Smart move. Sometimes you just have to let that position go so you don't end up ruining your race or the other driver's race. It should be quite the scrap here. 40 guys under a blanket. Looks like Squish. Squish is around. Still has the wings. But that's going to put an end to their good finish that they hope to have for this one. Ooh. Low. Schmeg around contact with Mr. Highside. Coming through that little kink, that's another place where you can set them up for this final hairpin. But if you're side by side, it is not going to work out well. Now we have Tom. I think Nico's too far back from Tom. Tom should have the DRS here. Let's see if we can get a run here on Mr. Highside. Mr. Highside, no, uses all, drives the bus. Drives that bus in the middle of the road. Good defensive maneuver, pretty clean. Didn't squeeze Tom early. Or excuse me, didn't squeeze Tom too late. Drag King unfortunately picks up another penalty here, 6 seconds. Still has a 10-second gap behind him, so I guess it's not too much to fret about. So even though they're only half a second behind, 4/10 behind, they still have 2 seconds to the bad. Alright, as we're approaching the final lap, let's take a look at our top 2. Burt's again, his light every lap thus far. Blackman in hot pursuit might end up with just waiting until this front stretch chicane or DRS zone. Ooh, he has it. It could be on. Here we go. Through the Senna S. This is really tight. Little bit of contact. Both guys still running. Good hot pursuit. We do have one DRS zone coming up here before the hairpin. Underneath the overpass. Tom picks up a penalty. Big gap behind Tom. Ooh. All right, let's see. This is going to be for the win here. Let's follow him on board. All right, exiting the hairpin. Here we go. Big DRS zone here. It's going to be the Wall of Champions. Can he get the exit? He's got the exit. I don't think he's going to be able to pull it off in time. Oh, just missed. 56 thousandths. That was a good race. Good finish by those two. So we got Mr. Highside and Tom. Hot pursuit by everybody here. Looks like our final 10th spot. Robert Elder's going to be able to hold on to there, which is going to benefit him in the second race. And there's a bevy of penalties down there. And our final 2 guys cross the line. Driver of the day, Nico. Congrats to Nico. All right. So for our 25% Canada race, we have Verts with the win, Blackman second place, Fearless rounds out the podium, Drag King 4th, Little Mick 5th, Nico 6th, Mr. Highside and Tom 7th and 8th. Rocket finishes 9th, and Robert Elder rounds out the top 10. Schmeg and Sublime 11 and 12. Elder 54, 13, Sergeant and Dorsey Dave 14 and 15th, the Harmacist, Jerk 16th, 17th, Squish 18th, Style, Harmony, Phil, and Flavius round out the grid. As I mentioned, for the race number 2, which will be a 50% race over in France, they will invert the top 10. So Robert Elder should be on pole for that race. And Verts drops down to 10th. Everybody else remains the same. There are no DNFs in the race, so that will not impact. If you are DNF'd, you would stay. You would be in the back of the grid, but we don't have to worry about that for this one. So there will most likely be a quick couple-minute break. Everybody use the facilities, stations will identify themselves, and the grid to be reset. So we shall be back in a few. Stay tuned. Just reporting back, there will be about a 5-minute break. So at about 9:33 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be ready to go. So be back shortly. Grab your favorite drink, tune to your favorite sports show, and hang tight. And while we wait here, just a couple more minutes, some fun facts for all the listeners that may or may not be out there. During the off season between season 7 and season 8, Americas ran a F2 series. It was a 6 week little mini segment, kind of like you see here, 2 races per night. Um, and from that, actually, I think that helped to grow some of the interest in the F2 on the America side. We had Viridis ended up winning that little 6 week championship. Out of those 12 races, actually, out of those 12 races, I believe he only ran 8 of them. Podiumed actually in every one of them and had fastest laps in 8 of those races as well, 2 poles and 3 victories. Blackman ended up second in that championship and had 4 victories with 7 podiums. So it made for a little fun activity, and as I mentioned, helped to grow this F2 from something that hadn't existed for a couple seasons into, as you can see by the last race, full grid, um, which again is fantastic. So should have some good strategy calls maybe at this next race. That'll be at France. 50% race, 15 laps, mandatory pit stop, and again the top 10 from the first race that you see on your screen will be inverted. So Verts will be 10th, Robert Elder will be first, and everybody flipping in between. Should be ready to get going here in a minute. So hang tight, and we'll be back with you. All right, looks like we are ready to go here. Again, 50% race in France, top 10 inverted from the finish of the first race. I have asked the people on the ground to relay the weather situation in France back to me. We'll see if they actually pay attention to my request. Well, it looks to be dry, hopefully, and hopefully it stays that way. Actually, it looks pretty sunny out as well. I don't have any fun facts for Paul Ricard Raceway in France beyond my own disdain for it. Um, Drivers have, so there is no rain in the forecast. So that's good for everybody. Strategies should be able to work using 2 compounds. And somebody already hit the button. Fun fact for the America's Series this season, we've instituted a do not hit A to ready up until the admin does that. That allows people not to stress out, set strategies, etc., etc. Now it looks to be, we actually have a formation map for this race, unlike the last race. As my controller falls to the ground here. So as I mentioned, Robert Elder is in first, Rocket will be second, followed by Tom, Mr. Highside, Nico, Little Mick, Drag King, Viridis, Blackman, Burtz, who won the first race and is inverted in the 10th. Captain Schmeg finishing just outside the top 10, or remaining 11th, followed by Sub, Elder, Sergeant, Dave, Jerk, Swish, Style, Phil, Flavius, and I Love JBH, who has joined for the second race. Had some issues getting into the first one. But 21 racers for this one. Again, awesome to see this. Hoping to keep it up. And who knows? Maybe somehow they'll get 2 tiers or something for this in season 9. You never know. And it looks like Robert Elder is in a hurry to get to the starting grid, get that nice purple parking spot. Hopefully, well, you never know with this game. Hopefully the game decides not to have his tires just cool all the way down. Because there is quite the gap. Rocket is just coming out of the final chicane. As well as the rest of the grid is very spread out here. As they all start to form up. Who's that? That was Mr. Highside. Looked to have a lovely angled start. Got some disqualifications. That's all right. That happens. All right, just waiting on the lights. Everybody appears to be set in their spots. And 5 lights. Here we go. Elder takes off. Time. Mr. Highside got a very good start here. Hopefully no chaos into turn 1. Looks like some shuffling back in the pack. There goes the ball. Ballard is already out of play. Everybody seems to have made it clean through turns 1 and 2, heading into a tighter portion of the track. A little bit slower, more technical. We want to have a little bit of action back here. Elder and Sergeant, little Mick, Tom. Tom seems to have fallen back. At the start here, runs a little bit wide. And we have somebody off. Looks like JBH is off in the back. Does regain. Jerk is way back there. Rocket is on the white compound tire. So there are a couple, roughly about half the drivers went to the hard compound tire, everyone else on the soft compound tire. Taking a look just at the position changes. Vert, starting in that 10th spot after winning the first race, is up 6 spots. Drag King's up 4. Mr. Highside's up 2. Tom down 4 spots. Rocket down 3. Jerk down 5 with that spin or contact that happened on that first lap as well. Nico hot on Rocket's tail here through the first chicanes. Might actually have a good run. Looks like he's getting squeezed just a little bit. If you set up here at this corner and plant it on the exit, don't spin the tires. Got a good drag. Whoa, a little bit squirrely. So we might not get it with the drag. DRS is not active this lap. Looks like Squish, and Dorsey Dave. Had some contact back in the back. Everybody still has their wings. But being an F2 car that goes a little bit slower, no DRS, it's going to be a caution in order to catch up to the field. A little scrap between JBH, Style, and Phil. So that Style very wide there in exit. No contact, still hanging around. JBH inside is able to slide behind Style. Professor Phil, yeah, has a good little lunge on the inside of that corner, but did not have the racing line on the next. Robert Elder with fast lap so far. Certain that those times will go down, especially as the cars start to decrease their fuel load. Vert squeezes right by Drag King on the exit between 2. And we'll see this little train, how this works out. Mr. Highside actually might be in the best vantage point. DRS, you can see, is open. That wing, the long road down to this short little tiny chicane. Does have Verts right on his tail though. For the F2 races this season, these are all fixed setups, so everybody is running the same wings, the same setup. A little tight here. Robert Elder, Mr. Highside, and Verts. Good. Oh, Mr. Highside. A little bit of wiggle there. Very, very close. So far, no contact between everybody. There, as I said that. Don't know if that was contact, but definitely Mr. Highside went around. The F2 series here is open assist, so traction control, ABS are allowed. Unclear on which drivers are actually choosing to run which assists at this point in time. So it could have been a traction control issue, or just perhaps got bumped. We'll see if there's any incidents that are reported from there. Sergeant Rocket. 2 veteran Xbox guys. That's another thing. So the this season for the American Season Series, for the F2, the Open, as well as the series that's run on Tuesday, are all crossplay. So we have a good section of Xbox, PlayStation, as well as PC drivers. So it's good to finally get us all in the same races. We were able to carry a couple Xbox series in the past and the PlayStation, but PC hadn't really had the numbers. So it's good to see some PC guys are able to be involved for Season 8 here in Americas. Elder and JBH going side by side here through the long right-hander. It's important to get that second apex correct, as you get a little bit of speed into sort of an awkward left-hander that we just saw Elder pass. Sub following style. Got a couple good battles here. Phil and Schmeg. Sub's a little further behind style than we probably would want to be able to overtake at that corner. JVH side by side with Sargent. He looks to have left some room. Drag King picks up a 3-second penalty. A little bit of a love tap there from Sargent. Rubbing is racing, perhaps not in F2 cars. And it looks like a big old DRS train right here. Sargent won't be able to catch up, make that overtake, because JBH does have a rear wing open, as they were close enough to Rocket to have that activated. Let's clip over to the top. Verts does have enough of a lead over the next guys where DRS won't be enabled. But Deco and Elber, a good little battle going on. They, however, will have DRS enabled currently for Robert Elder, coming off that first DRS zone that is on the front stretch right by the start-finish line. Wing open. It's still a little too far back. Half a second at the line. Probably not going to be able to get the job done. We're going to have to wait for that long second DRS zone. Viridis. Oh, Viridis takes us a little Tokyo drift. Again, as I mentioned, I think he was one of the favorites coming into this just because of how he had performed during the off-season. Will be in DRS zone, however, inside this lovely train of cars. So may or may not be able to make up some of these spots because everybody's going to be running, as I mentioned, the same wings, same setups. Sargent, however, looks to be almost had the move on Rocket. That would have been impressive. Both had DRS wing open. Tom's creeping back into Robert Elder's DRS, who does not have DRS on Nico, so he might be a sitting duck here coming on this next lap. Looks like Schmeg may have had a moment. Let's follow Phil again. Phil fighting with Sub, Phil on the soft tires, Sub on the hard tires. Two guys, we got some pit stops coming up as well. So soft runners are starting to pit. Looking perhaps for that undercut on the other soft runners. Phil is staying out. Robert Elder on the softs as well is staying out. Maybe these guys are trying to stretch these just enough Phil taking a peek down into turn 1. Looks to be clear, and Sub tucks in behind, so move is done. Check back up with Tom. Tom is... I'd bet that Tom's going to get this move done here. 2/10 of a second. Should be done well before the corner. And there you have it. Clean pass, no issues. We love to see that. Competitors are giving everybody room. As I say that, we'll see what happens between... Oh, a little close. Viridis and Rocket. Everybody survives. You get those corners, or the curbs. Sometimes that upsets the cars. You're going over it, depending on what the ride heights and everything are set at. So I imagine Robert Elder, as well as Style, Phil, and Jerk will be pitting this lap. They probably want to get onto those hard tires as the soft compounds are done. Ooh, Jerk picks up a penalty. Styles staying out. Alright, interesting. Let's go follow Jerk, see. Looks like Jerk is ducking into the pits. Totally missing that pit lane, which is very hard to see. And your first guy on new tires, Verts, sitting in 9th currently. So the question is when are the hard runners going to start pitting? So if we had guys running 5-6 laps on softs, you would imagine that they would be coming in within the next 2 laps. Oh, Viridis picks up a penalty, multiple warnings. That is not going to be helpful here at the end. He is on the soft compounds. And into the pits, ducks Tom, Blockman, Little Mick, JBH. Will Rocket follow? Will he stay out? Looks like Rocket will stay out. Style dives into the pits for the hard compounds. And here goes Rocket. Taking the lead, still does need to pit. We do know from previous races with Rocket that he does like to stretch those hard compound tires. And Sub, perhaps teammates here. Let's see, there's a 4-second gap between them, so a double stack is possibly in their future. Blockman runs super wide on that exit from turn 2. So Tom is the first guy on the soft compounds. We'll see how that shakes out versus Verts, who is the first guy on new hards. Field's a little bit stretched out here, except for the top 6. Viridis and Mr. Highside doing a little battle. Let's go back and check on Sub and Rocket, see what their pit strategy is going to be here coming up to the pit lane. So far, no real issues. Couple spins, no DNFs. Rocket stays out. Sub dives into the pit lane. So no double stack in their future. Sub was a little more than 4 seconds behind Rocket. Let's see what these new tires, the new softs, will be able to do for him. He's going to come out, however, maybe down in 10th place. Nope, even further. Also, one of the items that everybody would notice in comparing the F2 and the F1 pit stops is F2 obviously is much slower, less people servicing the car, and a little bit just like driving a bus with these cars. All right, so we're going to be looking for Sub is going to be was about 4.5 seconds behind Rocket, but pitting that late, even down at in the second spot, fell all the way down to 17th. Is on the soft tires, so that should help a little bit. Drag King, JBH, and Viridis in tow here. Everybody gets through clean through the first, or through the backstretch chicane, coming into the long right-hander. So let's head up. Rocket dives into the pits. Phil picks up the penalty. So there was a 4.5 second delta to Sub. Blackman picks up lots of penalties for these guys here. There was a 4.5 second delta to Sub when they pit. We'll see if that extra lap on the old hards and the new softs was able to help Sub pass or gain on Rocket. Blackman had a 1:43.4. That's the fastest lap thus far. And Tom in a little battle with Blackman, and you see Nico peeking into the screen right there. Tom does not have DRS on Verts, so that's not going to benefit him at the moment. And let's fly back down. We see Rocket. Rocket is 13, Sub is 17, and the gap between them is much greater. So actually that undercut with the soft tires did not work out in Sub's favor. Sargent making a move on Mr. Highside down the back stretch, DRS zone, hitting the chicane, little tight with both of them here. Highside fighting back, actually gets the job done on the retake. Viridis with the penalty. Let's check out all the penalties these guys have here. Sargent is hanging tough on the inside. Good little scrap. 4 guys under a blanket. What am I looking for here? Penalties. Look at all these penalties. Lots of 3s. Viridis with 6. That'll come into play potentially at the end of the race. 4 laps left here. Looks like Squish will have DRS on Phil here. I think Phil is outside of the zone for Albert. Should be able to get this done before. Emphasis on should. Gonna be tight here. See if Phil gives him a little bit of room. Maybe does the old switch back. Or just hang tight and wait for that DRS zone that he knows is coming up. That'd be my play. Currently Squish is not in DRS zone for Elder. I think Phil's way too far back at this point. 8 tenths. Not going to be able to get it done. Schmeg and Rocket, Mr. Highside up front. Looks like Dorsey Dave is going off in sector 1. Let's go check at the top here. Good little scrap. Verts, Tom, Blackman, Nico. We're coming to 3 laps remaining. All of these guys have DRS on Verts. Tom goes for the move. Turn 1 goes very wide. Able to stick it ahead. Blackman kind of gave way, probably lived to fight another day on that. All these guys do have penalties, so Blackman and Nico do have those penalties. Verts is in a good position penalty-wise, not necessarily position-wise, based on Tom now starting to put some gap between him and Blackman, 7/10. They'll still all have, minus Tom, DRS coming up into this backstretch. Blackman is too far back. Nico looks to maybe have the move. Nope, stays in line. Possibly could have had the move done. But again, less than 3 laps left. Here goes Verts to the inside of Nico. And a long double right-hander. Plenty of room. A little less room. A little squirrely for both of them on the exit. You want to play it safe there. You got to get set up for this next left-hander. And into the final sector 3 here. Blackman's 8/10, 7/10 behind Tom. Still has the DRS. But needs to get some giddy up here. Nico has lost DRS to Blackman. So this is going to not help Verts a lot. He's going to need to make up some time on Blackman to get by to have some hope to get Tom. Nico just got another penalty, so that's 6 seconds of penalties. That's going to drop Nico all the way down into at least 6th spot, depending on JBH. Tom's going to be under pressure here on the backstretch. 5/10 of a second. Let's see if Blackman can pull up a little bit more before they hit that DRS zone. I think you got to be inside of 4/10 to be able to get that move done. Here goes Verts. That move should be well over on Nico. And Blackman gets it down to 3/10. Pulls back. Drag King passing Elder. Oh, little bit of a bump. Both guys are still in it. Little tight for comfort there. Sub and Elder going side by side. Both make it through. Style following up right there. All right. So this will be coming to 1 lap to go. Not presented by Credit One Bank, like your typical NASCAR races. Blackman just over 5/10 of a second behind Tom. Will not be able to get this move done before turn 1. I would wait until that backstretch. Get that big DRS pull with the drag and the draft. Oh, Dorsey Dave. 3-second time penalty added to that. Having a rough day. Blackman goes very wide. So even though he has a 3-second time penalty here, I imagine he's going to be pushing. Jerk gets a penalty, 3-second, 9 seconds penalties, high score. So Blackman, 7/10, 8/10. I don't think he's going to get this done at all, at least on the backstretch, unless Tom makes a mistake. This one looks to be Tom's to lose. Hopefully, unlike the Tuesday night race, Tom's wheel does not freeze and lock and push him into a wall. Unfortunately, he lost out on a 2nd place finish at Brazil. Had a fantastic run, 3 laps or so from the end. Tragedy struck him. So again, Blackman half a second behind. Out of DRS zones, except for that final front stretch one, which, unless he's right on Tom's diffuser, will not be able to make that move. Nico, a bunch of penalties. So even though he's right on Verts' tail, and actually Verts, so he's 2.97 seconds from Blackman. He needs to stay within that 3. Tom coming down the front stretch for the final time. Does a little swerve, takes the victory. Blackman currently in second place. Verts is so close. Oh, misses out on second place, gets third place. Little Mick comes home fourth. Nico, after penalties, is going to wind up fifth. Sergeant Rocket across the line. Bevy of penalties for these guys coming here. We'll see where their final order tally shakes out in the end. Style across the line. Phil, Flavius, Jerk, and Dorsey Dave. We'll give Dorsey Dave some love here. Follow him home. Making those final corners can be tough sitting in an F2 car, having a bad race. But keep your head high. There's always next week. And there's always time penalties. Gets a little bit of a giddy up here. I don't think he's got enough. He looks like he's checking for fuel, checking all the corners, the edges of the track, making sure everybody's safe, and comes across. Eventually, the line does some burnouts. This is not helpful. And finally finishes the race. Does not get disqualified, so congratulations, perhaps. JBH gets driver of the day. And let's run down our final order. So Tom in the bar, who until today was a reserve, and now he's not a reserve. So congrats to him on the opening season of F2 America's victory. Tom in the feature race. There's my feature race. Tom gets first, Blackman second, Verts rounds out the podium. Little Mick fourth, Nico fifth, JBH sixth, Viridis seventh, Robert Elder eighth, Drag King ninth, Sergeant rounds out the top 10. Rocket 11th, Squish 12th, Captain Schmeg 13th, Mr. Highside, Sublime, Elder 14th, 15th, 16th, Style 17th, Flavis 18th, Professor Phil 19th, Jerk 20th, and Dorsey Dave with his donuts ended up finishing 21st. So that was it, everybody. Hope you enjoyed America's F2 Thursday. Next week, let me look quickly here at our schedule. They will be racing again next week, the same segment type that they did as we had last. It will be Spain in Miami. So Spain or Miami will be the 25%, and the opposite will be the 50%. There will be a league vote the day before the race to figure out which one is which. But again, next week, round 2, America's F2 Series, Spain and Miami. Hope you enjoyed, and have a good night.